Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the opportunity. Today, I would like to give my argument about a motion. The motion is this house banned private prisons, which is a private prison is a place where people are imprisoned by a third party that is contracted by a government agency. With the affirmative team would ban private prisons. Basically, detainees must be treated equally to avoid jealousy fellow prisoners because trivial matters can cause fights between fellow prisoners and often lead to casualties. In fact, prisoners can be desperate to kill prisoners or prison prisoners and burn the prison. That is what underlies the mind to equalize every prisoner. For prisons who commit violations in the form of complaints for personal interests outside the provisions enforced with refrigerators, fans, stoves, televisions, door slots, and or other electronic devices in residential rooms may be subject to severe disciplinary penalties. Ladies and gentlemen, what are we going to do with existing prisoners? If we shut down the private for-profit prisons, where are we going to house the existing criminals? We can let them out onto the streets. For-profit prisons are cheaper because taxpayers don't have to pay for the prisons. If the government shut down the private prisons, it would still take them time and a lot of money to build new prisons and hire guards. The risk transporting all of them, the list is endless. We are now dependent on these prisons closing them would prove to be disastrous. Private prisons should be banned because there is less accountability than in state-run facilities. Who audits these private prisons? How do we know each jailer is trained properly? How do we know whether or not the employees follow the law with respect to the prisons? There is too much room for snaffles and loopholes with a private prison. Private prisons cost more than public prisons. Private prisons cause a bigger debt for the state. For example, Montgomery County decided to construct the Joy Carley detention facility, operated by the Geo Group. The private prison took $45 million in bond to construct. It has left the country with a large financial burden also. Even though the facility opened in August 2008, there are no inmates in the prison. Unfortunately for the county, according to County Judge Ellen B. Sadler, did not anticipate the potential loss of its tax-exempt status. According to Sadler, if the country loses its tax-exempt status, the tax implication would be huge. Private prison should be banned because they are immoral, expensive, and cause quotas. Our prison system needs to be reformed, especially those prisoners who are incarcerated for non-violent crimes, such as the possession of marijuana in the Russian, and then people are put in jail for the majority of their lives for non-violent offenses, and it remains difficult for them to get a job after they get out even though they didn't hurt anyone to begin with. Private prisons are a problem that needs to be removed from this country. If you're ever unfortunate enough to have to deal with the justice system, if you're ever unfortunate enough to have to deal with the justice system, you'll understand why I'm talking about many people face prison when in fact they aren't really criminals, they're mentally ill. Jailing non-violent criminals as a means of getting rid of misfits in society should be a crime in itself. Having laws in place of common sense and respect or tolerance for others is absurd and accounts for why quite a few people are in jail to begin with. Ladies and gentlemen, sentencing of discipline to prisoners or detainees must be recorded on the coaching card. The legal basis of the Minister of Law and Human Rights Regulation Number 6 of 2013 concerning the rules of correctional institutions and state detention centers. So, a prisoner has the same rights and obligations from one another. This is carried out based on the principle of equality of treatment and service in the penal training system, namely the provision of the same treatment and service to the correctional prisoners without discriminating against people, without the need for private prisons. Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the opportunity. Today, I would like to give my argument about a motion. The motion is this House ban private prisons. We are the negative team. We will refuse the affirmative team argument. They said would ban private prisons with the reason it can cause jealousy among other prisoners. However, in practice, there are prisoners with special needs. For example, due to physical reasons or susceptibility to disease. Detainees with special needs due to illness are usually required to be transferred to as delivering, while detainees with special needs due to physical factors are placed in special rooms in detention centers and prisons. Criteria of special needs, in addition to being proven by the statements of doctors and experts, are usually very dominantly determined by the head of the remand center, so that they are often used by certain elements to make money. To prove it is very difficult. For example, detainees who have a lot of money will ask for special facilities in prisons, or detainees who, even though the physical and illness of the rich person is in good health. The case of a woman convicted of corruption revealed at one of the detention centers in Jakarta, which has a super luxurious room, was inspection from the Indonesian Ministry of Law and Human Rights (HAM. So private prison is not prohibited for prisoners who have physical and mental limitations or prisoners who have severe illness. Thank you.